Hello, and welcome back to the Keep Growing podcast. If you're a new listener, welcome. My name is John Morgan, the resident gardener and geek here at Bob's Market and host of our podcast. You can always find out more about the Keep Growing podcast and Bob's Market at bobsmarket.com/keepgrowing. In the last episode, I filled you in on the somewhat winding road that led to our absence the last 2 years, and the reasons for relaunching the podcast. In that episode, I mentioned Cultivate, a yearly industry conference in Columbus, Ohio. I always attend the conference to meet with our suppliers, see what's new, and get a fresh set of ideas for the upcoming year. One of the sessions I always attend is a presentation on gardening trends by Katie Dubois from Garden Media Group. With the new year, now is a great time to talk about 2023 garden trends. For this episode, I'm going to draw on Katie's presentation, other trend predictions, and I'm also going to make some predictions of my own. First, I think we need to consider the virus-shaped elephant in the room. While many industries suffered the last few years, and we had our share of trials too, many people my age, I just turned 40, many people my age and younger rediscovered or discovered for the first time the joy of gardening. Whether you were fearing potential food shortages or just bored out of your mind while stuck at home, gardening became an escape from all the troubles of the world. Back in 2020, my phone was exploding daily with Facebook messages and texts from friends asking gardening questions. I felt a little bit like Obi-Wan Kenobi, training my own group of gardening Padawans. Luckily, learning to garden is pretty easy. There's a very small chance of cutting off a limb, unless you're pruning, and lightsabers are not recommended for tree trimming. So basically, we saw a huge influx of new gardeners that wanted to grow veggies, preserve their harvest, and turn their backyards into little paradises. To our surprise, most of those gardeners stuck around too. I know many of us feel empowered with a whole new level of self-reliance. I mean, I'm old and cynical, but if you haven't noticed, the government doesn't have all the answers. However, the older I get, the more I do realize nature has all the answers. Just Google cottagecore. 2023 is going to take those newfound gardening skills and that attitude of self-reliance to a whole new level. Basically, the training wheels are off and your imagination is the limit. A couple of years ago, projects were aimed at freshening up outdoor spaces and making them more usable as a living space. 2023 is going to be about maximizing that outdoor living space for a number of uses. Outdoor activities, cooking, growing food, promoting pollinator health and welcoming wildlife, and also ADUs. A what? Katie refers to all this in her analysis as the backyard revolution. As the housing market has shifted and the popularity of tiny homes has risen, along with zone restrictions being relaxed to accommodate smaller abodes, accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, are becoming popular. Basement bachelor pads for older kids graduating from college, mother-in-law suites, and Airbnb rentals are all being detached from the main house. Maybe it's a converted garage or a custom-built structure, but these tiny living spaces add value, flexibility, and in some cases, additional income. Along with revamping outdoor living spaces, comes a whole host of outdoor technology. There's the obvious extensions of indoor tech like weatherproof TVs, outdoor smart speakers, lights, outlets, and all that. But there's also a growing list of smart technology specifically to make life easier outdoors. There are several companies making Roomba-like robot mowers for your lawn, and the original inventor of the Roomba itself now has Turtle, spelled Tertill. It's a weeding robot for your garden. I got to see one of these little dudes up close, and it's ingenious. It is a fully autonomous and solar-powered weeding robot. It uses a combination of its wheels to till the soil and a small weed whacker on its belly to chop down weeds as they emerge. It will patrol the garden in little bursts throughout the day with periodic stops to charge. When seedlings are tiny, it comes with little wire guards to protect them, but once they get about 4 inches tall, it can actually sense plants using a capacitive touch sensor on its front end, and when it bumps into one of your garden plants, it'll just turn around and go the other way. A couple years ago, I got to visit Scott's Miracle-Gro's R&D facility. There I got to see them testing a range of smart lawn irrigation controllers against their own that they were in the process of developing. The benefit of smart lawn irrigation cannot be overstated. Compared to traditional timer-based systems that kick on and off with a set schedule, smart controllers are able to pull in weather data. The obvious benefit is that there's no need to water if there's rain in the forecast. This new wave of garden tech is going to help us work smarter, not harder, while also helping us use resources more wisely. I mentioned cottagecore earlier, and that brings us to overall design trends for 2023. At the top of my list is something that's a bit dear to my heart, and that is cottage gardens and meadow gardens. Over the past few years, I've been on a quest to transform a significant portion of my yard into a meadow garden with the intent of eventually creating a more organized cottage garden. Overall, I started with a blank slate and simply let a large area grow into grassland that I mow just a couple times a year. And overall, it's shaved about an hour off of my mowing each week. And it's invited a ton of new wildlife onto my property. The centerpiece right now is a large wildflower planting that I'm expanding a little bit each year. You'll hear more about the meadow in an upcoming episode. At the opposite end of the garden trend spectrum are highly refined formal gardens. Boxwood hedges, sculptures, and columns are making a comeback with the romantic beauty of Mediterranean-inspired gardens and gravel gardens. Both of these styles have something in common. Their extensive use of stone and gravel eliminates the need for water-hungry grass, and using gravel and hard surfaces wisely can make the garden styles extremely water efficient. Finally, we have the color of the year. Now, normally I go with the Pantone color of the year in my garden trend predictions. But this year it's Viva Magenta, and to be honest, I'm not a fan of it. However, I do love Garden Media Group's color of the year. They chose terracotta. And terracotta is hot right now, according to the British fashion and garden blogger that my wife follows. I have to admit, I watch Fashion Mumbler's YouTube channel also for the gardening content. That being said, collecting and using antique terracotta is a huge trend right now, and it ties right into the cottage garden aesthetic. So that's my take on this year's garden trends. On the recording, you might notice a bit more background noise than normal. I normally turn off the heat or air conditioning when I'm recording, but we're in the middle of a polar vortex, and it's currently like the planet Hoth outside. Winter is the perfect time to break out a notebook and start making your garden plans for the year ahead. Hopefully this gives you some inspiration. You can find show notes and more on our website at bobsmarket.com/keepgrowing. Copyright 2022, Bob's Market and Greenhouses, Incorporated.